first thing we want to tackle is obviously you work for a Kiwi company, Zespri, and you're a global CMO. How's that come about and why do they need a global CMO? I mean, it's kiwi fruit.
I think kiwi fruit, like many other fruits, are known to be healthy. How do you make it appetizing? I really believe in the power of building distinctive brand assets. To have those mental shortcuts for your brand, and especially if they can convey some emotional association to it, it's golden. It's powerful.
I mean, we see in our research distinctive assets really do increase the ROI as well. Like you said, it really helps fast track the brand.
When you have a great piece of a brand equity building, creative, it also drives short-term sales.
It's not brand or performance, it's brand plus performance is the multiplier effect. Hello and welcome to the CMO podcast. My name is Nikki Taylor. I am the Marketing Communications Director for Analytic Partners. And I'm here today to help you claim your seat in the C-suite. And to do that, I need to talk to those that have done just that. And today I'm joined by the lovely Jiunn Shih, the Marketing, Innovation and Sustainability Officer for Zespri International. Welcome.
Oh, no, thank you for having me, Nikki.
So before we get started, I think the first thing we want to tackle is obviously you work for a Kiwi company, Zespri, and you're a global CMO. You've done some amazing work, which we're going to dive into. Yeah. But maybe how's that come about and why do they need a global CMO? I mean, it's kiwi fruit.
Look, I mean, kiwi fruit is actually not a well-known fruit in itself, and it's less than 1% of the fruit bowl. And at Zespri, there was a strong belief that this is not just a commodity, This is something that we need to brand. We have our own varieties, and we really wanted to differentiate, and hence why they've created a global CMO job almost a decade ago, which I joined. So I come from a background of CPG, particularly in foods. I was most of my career in food categories. And for me to be able to take my marketing experience to market and brand something that is so healthy, that is so good for the communities of farmers, is just one of the privileges and one of the most fun jobs I've had.
Wow. Awesome. And we're going to dive into some of the questions. And, because today we're going to talk about how Zespri really helped build out a new habit for people, right? So to do that, I would really love to understand what's one psychological trick your brand uses to nudge the consumers that most of us don't even notice?
Look, I think there is, I think marketing is full of psychological nudges. I think there's a cool science, obviously, behind what we do as marketers. But what I would say for most food brands and products out there, what I would say is that sensory priming through the visual is probably one of the most powerful nudges. At Zespri, we took so much care in the photography and the visuals of the kiwi fruit, which, between you and I, the photography shooting of kiwi fruit is one of the hardest products I've ever had in terms of shooting. But how do you get that glistening pulp and seed? How do you get that juicy droplet? How do you get that, that texture of the spoon going to the flesh so that kiwi fruit can be appetizing? I think kiwi fruit, like many other fruits, are known to be healthy. How do you make it appetizing?
I think that's a good point. It's the visuals that make us have the desire. Definitely, I know when I was at Google, I worked on the food program and we were all about the visuals in the micro kitchens, the water with the lovely fruit in it, the chocolates in the bottom drawer, all those type of things to encourage that healthy sort of desire from people. So I totally understand that. So you're not selling fruit, but you are about rewiring habits. So what's one moment when you realize marketing could go deeper than just awareness of the fruit?
Because I worked so long in foods, I genuinely believe that food has such an important effect and impact in society. And I think it's probably fair to say that society today is as unhealthy as it's ever been because of the diets. There is we are, as a society, we are obese and malnourished at the same time.
Yeah.
Depending on where you live, which country you live, up to 60% of all your calories come from ultra-processed foods, which, let's face it, it's not really foods.
Yeah.
So that, for me, that purpose in terms of making a positive impact and the power of marketing to do that has been something that guided not just myself and the marketing team at Zespri, but the whole New Zealand kiwi fruit industry. So one thing, for example, that we've done just to showcase the importance of understanding people and how do we nudge them and how can we help them make better choices and build better habits is here in Singapore. So in Singapore, we've done a research, more than 90% of people want to eat more fruit,
Okay.
but only
That's a
half
lot.
of them eat them daily, right? So
Okay.
more than 90%, almost everyone in Singapore, if you ask, they say, yep, I want to eat more fruit, but only half of them eat daily.
Why?
And the
Why?
main
Why do we
reason,
not? Why do we not eat them then?
main reason, and that's what was really insightful is I forget. That was the main answer. I forget.
Yeah, I probably fall into that
I
category.
forget. So one of the campaigns we've done, it was actually not a campaign, it was a packaging. We've designed a pillbox shaped kiwi fruit packaging
Yes.
because pillbox is something that is instinctively for people a reminder that you have
Yeah.
to take your pills every day, Monday to Sunday. And we've done a pack with 7 kiwi fruit in the shape of a pillbox. And what we saw as a result, I mean, obviously from a sales perspective, we had a 25% uplift in sales, which was fantastic. We ran out of the pack. It was a fantastic result. But most importantly, more than 8 out of 10 people said that the pack reminded them to eat fruit daily.
Wow.
And more than 8 out of 10 people said, look, I would like to buy that pack again.
Amazing. Just by the packaging and by labeling it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wow. And that you actually won a Cannes Lion for, didn't you?
We won Effies
Effies
on
for
that
that.
one. Yeah, we've won Effies on that one.
That's amazing. Awesome. I can see that working. Have you taken that and scaled that across other countries as
So
well?
we've done a second year here in Singapore, the second round here in Singapore, and now we are now taking that packaging to other markets around the world.
Fantastic, fantastic. And, along with that packaging, I also see, I think you've sort of expanded that to kiwi fruits being your boost in the afternoon in your positioning as a campaign. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think kiwi fruit is in the minds of most of the consumers. It is very healthy, and Zespri does a role in terms of reminding of all of its
Yep.
great,
Vitamin
nutrition
C.
content and the benefits for your
Yep.
health. And I think that is an association that is already very strong in the markets where the brand is strong. What we cannot forget is that you need to balance out the health messaging with the appeal, right? With the appetizing, with the taste.
Yes.
And some of it, as we talked before, it's about the visual cues.
Yeah.
Some of it is that, but some of them is also the occasion cues, right?
Okay.
That cue-based marketing, like
Can see the CPG marketing coming in here.
exactly, right?
On the
Your
occasions.
afternoon boost, your post yoga treat,
Yep.
your
I like that.
zesty tea break,
Zesty tea, right? Yeah.
so a lot of that is also making sure that we are providing those occasion-based cues to have kiwi fruit. But then it's also important because a lot of these breaks and a lot of that is convenient, ultra-processed snacks, right?
Yes.
And we need to also make it convenient. And one of the things that Zespri has done over the years is that we've created a really fun little spife, as we call it, a knife with a spoon,
Okay.
which is a pretty little
yes.
quirky device. And we try to talk, it's actually easy to eat a kiwi fruit. It's actually just cut and scoop. And we try to make it fun. And it really resonates, especially with kids. They love the cut and scoop with a spife. So look, I mean, the visual needs to be appetizing. You need to cue the occasions. And we need to make it convenient in a quirky and fun way.
That's amazing. Because coming from like UPS and looking at the small businesses, I was always about convenience and all that sort of stuff. I wouldn't have thought that I would need to have thought through that with marketing kiwi fruits, but I can see how that's breaking down barriers of, why people don't take it. If it's, it's not an apple that I can just pick up and eat. So there's sort of barriers that you had to overcome. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears here.
Sure.
I like, and I've looked at some of the campaigns and I can see the Kiwi brothers, which I think are very cute.
Yeah.
My question, because obviously you've held the realm for a really long time. So genius or gamble? Like, was it a gamble or did you guys know this was going to hit? At what point did you know they were sticky enough to really drive the sales and not just people like me smiling at them?
No, that's another great question. I wouldn't say it's a genius, but I'll put a plug here to say I really believe in the power of building distinctive brand assets.
Yeah.
I think in a marketplace today, no matter which category you operate in, it's very cluttered, it's very competitive. To have those mental shortcuts for your brand, and especially if they can convey some emotional association to it, it's golden. It's powerful. So just wanted to make a small build there around the power of distinctive brand assets. So a little story of how the Kiwi brothers came about. So we've launched the Kiwi brothers in Japan. In 2016, when I had first started my journey at Zespri. Before then, all of the campaigns in Japan, there was a marketing strategy of associating with a celebrity, a local celebrity. It could be an actress, a model, local celebrities, which did wonders for brand awareness, just not for Zespri. It did wonders for the brand awareness of those celebrities.
Oh, okay.
So the brand awareness was stuck. But the celebrities got a lot of awareness out of it. So
good for them. They got
it's
paid
good for them.
and
It's
they got
good for them.
good.
But the bad strategy for the brand. So we said, look, we need to build our own celebrities, our own distinctive brand assets. And then
That's
we
how the
launched the
Kiwi
Kiwi brothers
go.
in 2016. 16 and 17, we saw such a massive boost in terms of awareness and brand equity and sales over those couple of seasons. And we said, look, I think we have something here. So we started testing those, the Kiwi brothers, those mascots. And we had like different mascots around the world. And they all looked different. And we started testing. And it was just hit after hit. Whichever market we went in and tested, either the ads, either the creative or just the mascot themselves, did a wonderful performance on those tests. So now we have rolled out Kiwi brothers to all of our core markets, all of our markets, our marketing investing markets around the world. The last two being China and the United States, because those are really big markets. You know, we really need to get that right. So now it's rolled out around the world for us. And it's been a fantastic results. I think distinctive brand assets, one is, can the consumers correctly associate, and the speed in which they associate, and is it unique?
Yes.
And I was very pleased to see that now in many markets, the Kiwi brothers already come on that top right quadrant of fame and speed of association. And our brand is as recognizable as it's ever been. So I think they've done a wonderful job for us.
Yeah, I think you touched on some really great points there. I mean, we see in our research distinctive assets really do increase the ROI as well. Like you said, it really helps fast track the brand.
But if I could just say, I mean, there is a role for celebrities. I'm not, but I think your brand, you need to do your homework first.
Yes.
You know, so I think you need to have strong already, well-established distinctive brand assets. And then there are roles to partner with celebrities that will bring different associations and different emotional connections. So there is a role for that. But let's get your distinctive assets right.
Yeah, I agree with the distinctive asset. But I am interested. Kiwi fruits. I never would have thought to like what celebrity would you partner with? Like who would be a right fit for? Is it a health fitness person? Like who are the celebrities that you partnered with, and who would fit like a kiwi fruit? What did they do in the past? It may not have worked, but who did you think through?
So one of the things that we have tested, and I'm very proud to share one of the partnerships that was just been announced a few weeks ago. We've partnered with sports and athletes as well in the past.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm incredibly proud for Zespri to partner with is Dame Lisa Carrington.
Okay.
So she's a 9-time Olympic medalist.
Wow.
In canoe, and 8 times gold. She has won 8 gold medals.
Amazing.
And she does such a great job promoting healthy eating more fresh fruits and vegetables. She has an amazing program in New Zealand with kids as well. And she happened to be born in the Bay of Plenty, which is the same region where most of the kiwi fruit from New Zealand comes from.
Nice.
And she's since the Paris Olympics, her recognition, because she won 3 gold medals, has been increasing globally. But for me, it's important that who we partner with shares the same beliefs,
Yeah.
have the same voice around, what are the things we want to talk about and how we talk about. And I couldn't be more proud for Zespri as a brand to be a partner with Dame
It
Lisa
does
Carrington.
sound like a very good fit there. Awesome. All right, I'm going to move on, and I want to understand, because I also read that you did drone deliveries, that you tested drone deliveries out in part of one of your campaigns to help. Tell me about that. Like, why did you come up with that? What were you testing, and what was the result?
So that was in China. And it's actually was this season, in the season that started earlier this year. And the whole idea, the whole insight behind it is that most people in China would associate, and I think it's true for other places as well, food delivery to unhealthy diets.
Yes, I would have that same assumption. Yes.
Yeah. So, and we saw that as an insight, that people that order the food delivery would say, it's not really healthy.
Yeah.
And what we wanted to do in partnership with Meituan, which is the largest food delivery platform in China, we said, how can we try to start nudging in a different direction? And one of the first initiatives is say, why don't we give a sample? Depending on what people order, let's balance that with a Zespri SunGold and then offer some tips.
Back into the sample, like what we used to do in the old days,
samples,
right?
Yeah.
Nice, I like it. Yep.
Because a lot of the times the person ordering that food, they might know, this is a bit oily, or, this is a little bit unhealthy for me. But I let me have a Zespri SunGold to kind of balance that off. And then you stealthily add some tips around how do you have a more balanced diet. Where the drones come in is that in some cities, Meituan is already delivering their orders via drones.
Okay.
And we found that to be such an amazing technology. When I saw it, I saw this is so impressive.
Wow.
But it also conveys some messages around, being convenient, technology. So we said, no, we're not only in terms of, offering Zespri SunGold in unhealthy orders, but we'll brand your drones, and we'll brand those kiosks where the drone delivers, because we kind of believe in the same things, and I think this adds some positive messages also to the brand.
I like that. We talk a lot in Analytic Partners about synergies of channels, so not just your digital. So I think that's great. You went a step further. So not only were you giving the sample, but you're like, okay, great. This is sort of like a drone is the next sort of billboard, and I'm sort of like showing them a mini billboard as I deliver the food, whether they got me or not. That's fantastic. And what were the results out of that?
So it's still going. It was this season, but it was the feedback from Meituan in terms of data was amazing, and we're getting so much buzz around that.
Wow. Is this something you're going to look to scale? Do you think it would work in other markets?
The issue around food delivery being associated with an unhealthy diet is prevalent in many of the markets that we operate in. And I think more and more that behavior of ordering more food online is there.
Yes.
So,
especially after COVID.
Especially after COVID, exactly. So I think healthy food brands have a role to play in terms of nudging people to start making slightly healthier choices.
The CMO Office is brought to you by Analytic Partners, the global leader in commercial analytics, which turns data into expertise to help marketers make the impact in the C-suite we need. What kind of impact? Every dollar spent on Analytic Partners last year, we return $70 in incremental revenue. To find out more, go to analyticpartners.com. Well, I can tell you, I got a note from our management in the building that I work in, and they've got the robots that are food delivery through Grab coming with discount offers. So Singapore can be your next market, right? No That's drones, true. But they've got the little robots.
The robots,
I know I saw them when I was in Miami. They kept going around the streets and I was like, what is that? What is that? It was just food delivery.
Yeah.
So that's great. Awesome. I love that. That's really interesting. So I want to touch on now, you sort of turn to influencers into farmers as well. Because, you don't just invite you used to do tours of the where you grow the kiwis and stuff like that. And then you opened it up to influencers to come.
Yes.
How did that come about? And, from what I understand is by inviting them, you sort of also they ended up doing live shopping as well.
Yeah.
And selling for you as well, which probably,
Yes.
I don't know whether that was part of your plan or not, but I feel like you went from, this is traditional, we bring the growers or the supply chain people, operations people in, they see how it works. And then you went, you know what, let's open this up to influencers. And now it seems to be that they're even selling for you right then and there in New Zealand.
Yeah.
How'd that all go? Can you unpack that for me? I think
Yeah,
there's
no, absolutely.
a few things there.
Yeah, there's quite a few things there. Let's unpack that. I think there is one element there in terms of for us partnering with creators. It's not just about reach.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the relevance and the fit. I think that's important. So we're not just we don't want to partner with creators just to reach a wider audience. We actually want creators that share some of the same beliefs that we have, like eating more fresh fruits and vegetables, being healthy, concern and care for the environment. I think those are the type of creators that we want to partner with. And so that's one thing, it's not just about reach, it's really about the fit. The second thing for us is that I believe there is a role for the brand to actually show how do you actually grow your fruit, to show the amazing benefits that your food or fruit may offer to people, to give them the information, to let them experience it so that they can tell that story from their own voice.
Yeah.
It's about co-creation, it's not about control. And I think this is where that second element, we thought, yes, it's actually, we want them to come to our orchards and see it. Because anyone that goes and talks to the kiwi fruit farmers in New Zealand that sees a kiwi fruit orchard,
such a different experience
eat
for them.
the fruit, you pick the
Absolutely.
fruit there and eat it. It's just an amazing experience. It's just something that you say, wow, there is a care for the land and for the environment. The growers are down to earth, and humble, hardworking people. The fruit is great. When you get all of that experience, and then you say, look, you tell the story, you do with that story. However, we trust you to tell that story in your voice, in your style. If you want to help us push the sales, you do it. But we don't want to control that narrative. We want to offer the elements so that they can experience and tell with their own stories.
No, I can see that. And I think one of the parts that a lot of marketers often miss is the fit for influencers. And so a lot of times when it doesn't work out or something like that is because due diligence hasn't been done to really think through, do they fit the brand? Have I explained to them enough about what it is? Because I do believe, like you let them tell their story, how they want to tell them, but your job is to brief them of why this is so good and what's the benefit of it. So they really understand it and so they can tell it in those words. But I can imagine, people from China, Taiwan or Asia going there to New Zealand. I've been there before, right? It's amazing country.
It's amazing.
And then,
it's amazing.
We talked about earlier, you being very precise and having to make the visuals really well. I can imagine them getting there. You wouldn't have to do that much because they'd be just so excited. They'd be picking the fruit and eating it and going, oh, this is amazing. I can see how the authentic sort of stories would have come out, which I think is great. One of the things I'd love to know, because I know some it's sort of definitely big in China and we do hear it here in Singapore, from the local sort of fruit stores or marketers, hawker centers. Yeah. But, there's some that do live selling of fruit and they did it. How are you seeing a bigger rise of, social selling online for you? And how is that coming into your mix at the moment?
So social selling or e-commerce in general, fruit as a category has been a little bit behind some of the other
which you'd expect, but
categories.
I am seeing people come into that, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's been a little bit behind because I think for a lot of people that interaction with the fruit, is smelling, touching it is still important. Having said that, particularly in Asia, we've seen a massive rise. So in China, right? In China, more than a third of all the sales come digitally already. Wow. Korea is super high. So in markets in Asia, we're already seeing that it come up incredibly. And with that growth, right? there's different avenues and different ways that people are selling fruit online. We see a lot of that social selling happening in China, whether that's through TikTok,
Yep.
and other platforms. So we are there. And again, it's around partnering with the right, with the right creators, with the right people, right? And sales is important. So don't get me wrong, selling fruit is important, but we want to do that in a way that also helps you build our brand consistently, and stands for the things that the brand stands for.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this before we started the podcast, that sustainability is in your title, because as a marketer, you're not just about marketing, you're also about sustainability and making sure that all of those core tenets, core values of your company comes through. So I think that's really important. And I can see you very passionate about who you work with and who you don't. I'm going to switch gears a little bit again now, because I know you're from CPG. So I know you like your measurement and optimization. So, and I know you've done a lot. Your media spans across everything. Like we said, we've done the tours, influencers, social selling, digital, all those different things. But where do you really win the hearts, and what channels do you secretly think are overrated?
Ooh.
For your category.
Well, it won't be secret anymore after this, Ben. No. Also, I love what you said, where you win the heart. Because I think as marketers and CMOs, we need to balance reach with heart. We need to,
That's nice,
you kind of have to balance both. And some channels will offer you more heart, and some channels will offer you more reach, right?
Yeah.
So for Zespri, and I would say for many fruit companies and brands out there, one of the things that best sell your product is the fruit itself. Once we get sun gold in the hands of a person and say, try it, if you never tried before, high conversion. People love it. People love our Zespri Sun Gold. So for us, one of the high heart, if you will, high experience, if you will, is sampling. Sampling. A lot of it done in store, but also sampling in the right places, in the gym, sampling in offices. Sampling is one of the most effective activities we can do, that is both high heart, and in some cases, depending on the cost, it's also high reach, right? But then we do need those high reach channels like OTT, paid social media. We need to do that. Now, where I would say that some may get it wrong, it's not that they are overrated, but get it wrong is if you haven't done your homework as a brand, if you don't have a great, strong creative, an attention-grabbing creative, and if you don't have well-established distinctive brand assets. So back to our conversation around distinctive brand assets, one of the things they also do is lift the effectiveness of your ads. Right?
Absolutely.
So if you get that basics right, I think high-reach channels are also equally effective. So for Zespri, it is really full funnel. It is really about a full mix, but hopefully with balancing reach and heart.
I love that. I can definitely see you definitely work a lot in measurement and optimization. At Analytics Partner, we often say that there's a balance. It's not brand or performance. It's brand plus performance. It's the multiplier effect. And you talk about heart, which I think is great. Roughly in percentages, like what sort of percentage do you put into the heart or the brand versus what do you put into tactical to pull them through?
Yeah. So at Zespri, we talk about, marketing, everything we do is about selling trays and building brand. And some activities does more of one or the other, right? And roughly, it's about 50-50. Okay. So if we think about, the old golden ratio from long and short of 60-40, it's about that. It's about 50-50. But I just wanted to pick up something you said. It's not an or. They are not mutually exclusive.
No.
If you have a great activation that is really about driving short-term sales and performance, but you do it right, you carry the right messages, it also builds the brand.
Absolutely.
When you have a great piece of creative, great piece of a brand equity building, creative, it also drives short-term sales.
Exactly.
So
yes.
it's really about, it's an and, not an or.
Yep.
And if you get both right, it really multiplies.
I know. Now, as we come to the end, I just wanted, you've been building this brand for quite a few years now, and it's really great where it's come from. How has that journey come about? Like, you came in, you said when you came in, you brought in the Kiwi brothers, all those sort of stuff. What are some of the highlights that you've had over the last sort of 5-6 years while you've been in this role and built it?
I often say that in my career, I've probably have done better marketing than some of the products and brands I represented deserved.
Okay.
For those listening, don't
sorry.
Sorry, because I genuinely believe that the purpose of any brand and business should be to solve the needs of people and planet in a way that is profitable, right? To me, and when I learned about the New Zealand kiwi fruit industry and Zespri, it just really resonated that this is an industry, a company, a brand that is good for people. It's one of the healthiest things any person can eat.
Yep.
It is fantastic for the communities, and the whole model is designed to maximize the return for the growers. In a world where the majority of our food comes from farmers that live below the poverty line, this business model is about maximizing the return to growers, and it's good for the planet. And although there's more that Zespri can do, a lot of it is already on the right trajectory in terms of being a positive for the environment. So that really resonated with me. So if I could say one of the single most striking moments when the penny dropped, it's just talking to growers in New Zealand. And I spent so much time talking to farmers in New Zealand and hearing from their voices.
Yep.
Around what does growing kiwi fruit mean for them, how much they care for the land. New Zealand, about 10% of the industry come from Maori growers, and one of my friends and I would say mentors his name is Turi. He's one of the leaders in his community, big kiwi fruit grower. I would go in and say, "Hey, Turi, let me tell you about what's the 5-year plan for Zespri." And then he would say, "Hey, Jiunn, you know that for the Maori, it's not about 5-year plans. It's about 500-year plans."
Wow, 500.
You have to think that, all of this will be here after you and I are gone. It's for the future generations. That has made such an impact in my beliefs as well, in my life. So for me, this role, at Zespri, working with Zespri and the growers that I had the opportunity to interact, was more than just about building a brand. I wanted to bring absolutely the best in terms of marketing, because this is actually a virtuous circle. It's good for people, for community and environment, the more this brand grows.
Wow, I can see that you've definitely found your purpose there. That's amazing. That's great. Before we finish up and before I get to the fun question, we talked about the nudges, the psychological nudges. I'm just going to bring you back to that, because I know your background is CPG.
Yes.
So I know this is wonderful and Kiwi, we love it. And there's lots of things that are great for the world and everything like that. But obviously you would have worked on some brands that either we didn't care about. They might be our washing powder, or they could have been like chocolate, whatever like that. What are some of the psychological nudges like that no one talks about outside of the CPG that other marketers should know, or non-marketers that, don't know that we use all the time? I think marketers, we know sort of what we do. But what are some of the ones that might shock some people?
Ooh. Look, without going to all of them, I genuinely believe in sensory priming. I think there's such a different ways in which you can, do sensory priming. If you are a fast food chain, in terms of the smell and we talked a lot about visual for foods and making it appetizing, right? I think there is so many. One of the underrated, I think, for building brands and building distinctive brand assets, it's sound.
I was just about to say
Sonic
that was
logos,
Sonic.
yeah. At the sign off for the any Zespri ad, right? It was actually, we built that Sonic logo. It's actually real organic cutting of kiwi fruit.
Oh wow!
Yeah. you can't really perceive it,
Yeah.
but there is an organic feel to that logo sign off, that sonic logo sign off. I think sound. So I think sensory priming, engaging the senses, I think is are really powerful psychological nudges.
I love that, especially in a digital world, right? So
Yes.
we're thinking, what can you do to make us feel all of those things? Because that's what it is. Awesome. Right. I've got one question before we finish.
Sure.
It's a fun one.
Okay.
So
They've all been fun.
Great. This one is just personal. So what is your most annoying marketing words that are said to you in a meeting? So like, people are like, oh yeah, it's innovative or something like that. What annoys you the most?
That is a fun question. I hate buzzwords, to be honest. And then there's different buzzwords. 3 years ago it was all about metaverse, and now it's all about AI. I hate a little bit the buzz, not because of what's behind it. I think that's fine. Buzzwords.
Yep.
I'm not a big fan of acronyms as well.
Okay. Yes.
And as marketers, we are great at that. I must say, I've been a big culprit. I've created some acronyms, many acronyms, but I actually hate it when I see them. So like 3-letter acronyms or something that represents something, I don't know, ASH, I don't know, whatever. That's I'm not a big fan of those. And I think I'm not a big fan of words that kind of lost its meaning. I say it sometimes. So like, we are a purpose-led brand.
Oh, yes.
I think not because of that belief that, as a brand, you need to know your place in the world and why do you exist.
Yes.
But I think that many marketers, as marketers, I think we've all hijacked the meaning of some of these words: purpose, innovative, sustainable, and I think there is, there's a little bit too much of those.
Yeah, I totally understand that, especially acronyms. I don't think you would have liked UPS. We had so many acronyms.
Well, the brand is an acronym.
For the first 6 months, I kept on asking, what does this word mean? What does this word mean? What does this word mean? And then I knew all of them by 5 years' time. But it is hard, and a lot of organizations
There is a
use
spreadsheet.
There's
That's Zespri.
there's a spreadsheet. Oh, you had one too?
That's Zespri. There's a spreadsheet with I think more than 1,000 different acronyms.
I love that. What's your favorite one?
OGR, Orchard Gate Return, because that's the money that goes into growers' pocket. Okay. Now that one I actually like. That's an important one. The money that goes into a farmer's pocket.
Awesome. Would you ever become a farmer when you retire?
I love agriculture.
Yeah.
I love agriculture and I love fruits. So potentially.
Okay. Nice. I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Is there any final word you'd like to leave the viewers with?
What I'll just say is, look, as marketers, I think we have one of the most fun jobs in the world, but as marketers, we also carry responsibility. We have the power to shape cultures, influence how people think, feel, and believe, nudge, as we talked about, people's actions and choices. So let's take that responsibility seriously. Let's do marketing for good.
I think that's a good point to finish on. Let's do marketing for good, because like you said, the more we hone our craft, the more we understand those nudges, those psychological pushes that we can do. And if we have good intentions, then that's the right way forward.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you very much for joining me in the CMO Office podcast today. I hope you all come back next month for more. But in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the-cmo-office.com for your weekly dose of content on measurement, optimization, and everything to do around marketing. Thank you and see you next time. Bye.